The wound is the place where the light enters you. A quote by my most favorite Sufi poet, Rumi. And my guest today, Laura Everest, is a woman who followed that light only to channel her pain to purpose, to help others find their strength, their courage, and their way forward. Laura's story is one that reminds us that a single moment can tear through everything we know is familiar, only to uncover the strength that lives within us. This is a conversation about the fall, the fight, and the quiet rise that changes our life forever. Laura is a Gallup certified strength coach and is founder of her leadership practice in Dubai, where she guides people and organizations to tap into their potential and work to their optimal best. I'm just delighted that we have Laura to speak with us today from the other side. Welcome, Laura. Laura, I begin by asking my guests to give us a glimpse of their childhood, in the hope to be able to connect some of those experiences, social, cultural, perhaps religious, that have gone on to shape the person that they have become.
Okay, well, I was very lucky to be growing up in Africa. Oh. My father's job was there and I went out when I was 1. So life for me was about the beach. And in fact, it was the beginning of my love of running, because my mother would run on the beach and we would run with her. So that was a start to what I remember loving the most about running. And that's something that stayed with me. Both my parents have huge energy and a real zest for life. So I definitely...
Clearly shows.
Oh God, I have so much energy. So I definitely got that. My mother had 2 quotes that we lived by, or I lived by. 1, never put off until tomorrow what you can do today.
Oh, beautiful.
And if you're going to do something, give it 100% or don't bother. And don't bother, by the way, wasn't an option. So those are 2, and those are things, they're mantras for me now. My father, he has been my hugest mentor in my business life. I've followed a lot of his. And I think the things that he always said to me is, no matter what level you get to in this life, whether it's business level, social level, money level, don't ever assume that you're better than anybody else, because you are only as good as the person you are. And you need to use what you're good at for the better of other people. So my father had a huge sense of fairness in that respect. And I'm never put off or uncomfortable around people who think they're very titled, because I think, it doesn't mean anything unless you prove to me that you're a decent person. And that's something that has mattered. And I think they're things that really shaped the way I thought and the way I work with others.
Yeah, I'm sensing that these early experiences that you've had, and I'd like to say, with what your father said to you was also a lesson in humility.
Yes.
And clearly your mother was a role model in terms of putting herself out there to run every morning was clearly something.
My mother obviously has the strength of competition at number 1. So she's always about winning and, doing it and beating the best, etc.
And it's often said that children don't learn from what they're told, but what they're shown. So evidently what you saw around you, it's just somewhere became you.
Definitely. I mean, I was lucky. I did have quite a privileged lifestyle, but I was never allowed to
take it for granted,
or to enable me to think better in any way of myself than anyone else. But yeah, I think all these different things, growing up with different cultures, going to boarding school, being very self-sufficient, all these things had a big knock-on effect to how I manage. I'm quite an independent sort of person.
And how does this independent person come to Dubai? And when does this happen?
Oh, the independent person lived in very many parts of the world. And my husband and I moved to Dubai with his job.
And this was which year?
I think about 2007, 2008, somewhere.
Right.
I think it might have been 2008. Yeah. And we came here with the two children who were quite little at the time. And the biggest joke was, I said, I'm not sure, what, I'm going to take my time to get involved in anything. I need to get everything sorted. Got the kids into school, and the first week they were in school, they said there's a PTA meeting. And I thought, well, I'll go because I'll at least know what's going on in the school. And I came back afterwards, and that evening my husband was home. He said, how was the PTA meeting? I was fine, yeah. He said, and what did you learn? I said, apparently now I'm chairman. And that was that. So I got very involved with the school stuff very quickly. And then had the wonderful opportunity to meet with somebody who who offered me my work as a leadership consultant, and that's how my things have continued. So
it's been
great.
now what, about
nearly 18 years.
18 years.
Yeah.
And there's a side of you which has always invested in health and fitness and wellness. Would it be fair to say that?
Yes, I think so. I think I did ballet for years and years and years. And then at 16, I felt ballet wasn't very cool. Then I didn't do too much for a little bit. But then I think when I was about 20, I got back into running again and thought, I didn't want to run with a group. Some people love that.
Yes.
But for me, it was more about mental mindset.
Right.
And that has been a huge part of my life. And I like to be fit.
And 50 kilometers a week?
I used to run about 50 kilometers a week. Yeah, so maybe 3 good runs a week.
So take us back to that summer morning when you were running like you would every day run in the morning.
Every second day.
Every second day that you would run in the morning. This is September 11th?
So it was my September the 11th, and it was September the 11th.
2013?
I think it was 2013, must have been, because it's been 12 years. Well, I was out for a run as usual, changed my route slightly. It's made me think twice. But I was on my way back thinking I was nearly done, and unfortunately I was crossing, and the next thing I remember was lying in the road. And I remember thinking, well, if I'm lying here, I must have been hit, because I wouldn't choose to lie in the road. And I thought, well, if I can think like this, there's obviously nothing wrong with my head, so that's a bonus. And I thought, let's see, what do I see around? And I looked down, and all I could see was my right foot hanging off. And loads of people around me saying, stay with us. And I thought, where do they think I'm going? And I thought, oh my God, they think I'm going to die. And my first thought was, am I? And I thought, absolutely not. I've got young children at home. I'm supposed to be training in the training room in an hour and a half. And my life has just got plenty going on. I've got no time for dying today. And I thought, you know what?
Incredible.
It's amazing. No one knows how they're going to react in a very difficult circumstance.
Yes.
But interestingly, I went straight into organisation mode. I said to them, can you call my husband, please? This is the number. I need him to call my office to let them know I can't get to work today. Have we called an ambulance? Because clearly I need help. And those were my first things.
And just for us to get a sense of what kind of injuries did you have?
Happen?
Yes.
Okay. So at the time I wasn't too aware. I just knew that my back hurt a lot and that my legs looked very awkward. That's all I was aware of until, and I will share with you that I thought, in case they think I'm going to die, I'll try not to close my eyes just to ensure. I mean, obviously I was going in and out of consciousness without realizing, but I was, thinking mustn't close my eyes. So when I got to the hospital, I realised the severity. My right foot had just about come off. My left ankle was completely turned the other way, ankle bone out, and completely shattered. I separated my hamstring. I broke my elbow. I had no lower arm here at all. I dislocated my wrists. I dislocated all my fingers. I had fractures in my back. And obviously, when you run, no one thinks of running in leathers. So I was in shorts and a t-shirt that is not great for the road. So I'd taken off loads of surface skin. When I got to the hospital, I realised the severity when I think I had about 12 doctors around me in the ER. And I thought, gosh, that's not so good then. But my thing was, you know what? I know that when I do my job, I do it really well and I can get impact. And now I have to accept that these people know their job and do it really well, and they will sort me out. So I just let it go and thought, it's going to be okay. And let's stop overthinking and just go with where we are right now. And that's where it was. I initially had 9 hours of surgery. And originally, I think they thought that they may have to amputate both my feet. So the fact that they were still on afterwards was a bonus. And luckily at that time, they didn't share with me that they never expected me to walk again. That was later. But I will say my husband brought my children to the hospital that night. And he said, look, I just wanted them to see that you were there and not dead.
Yes.
And I remember the pain, I was still half anaesthetized and I felt not very well. And I just said to them, I'm going to be fine. If you can get to school in the morning, you need to get to school. I'm going to be fine. I'll be back in a few days, and just make sure you've got your lunch. And I was whatever. And I just needed them to try to feel normal. They weren't feeling very normal, but I needed them to feel that mummy was still mummy. And I was in the hospital actually.
For how long?
Only 12 days. They kept calling me miraculous, but I'm very focused, and my thing is focus on what I can do and do it. And I started working when I came out of the high dependency ward. And when I got home,
what do you mean working?
Well, I was in a wheelchair for 5 months, as it happened, but I was organising a training event, which I delivered 11 weeks after the accident in a wheelchair, completely bound. But I remember it was a training event for 80 Chalhoub merchandisers. I remember that at the time. But I was in bed like this at home, not being able to move my arms, my legs. Clients came to the house. My work were fabulous. They came and they were writing things down for me, helping me organise and really keeping me in. And people said, what do you mean they made you work? I said, no, they said, would you like to? And I said, yes. I need to feel normal, make life normal.
And just give us a sense of what kind of process of treatment were you following post that? Because after you got out, the treatment continued.
Oh God, did it continue? So firstly, I was supposed to be 12 weeks in the wheelchair, and honestly, as a person with the most enormous amount of energy who never sits down, that was probably the most mentally challenging thing that I had to do. I hated it. And as soon as I was able to start moving, because I couldn't move anything, I started moving my arms. I'm vain, I wear contact lenses, and they said, you won't be able to move your arm. I thought, oh, you watch me. And I was determined my contact lenses were going in. So bit by bit, I started working. Then I was lifting hand weights. I was doing press-ups in bed because I couldn't move my lower legs, exercises in bed. In my wheelchair, I was trying to do things gently to move my feet, etc. And eventually, I remember going to the hospital after and being told 3 months was up. I thought, yes! And I got there and they said, no, it's not healed. Back to the wheelchair. I sobbed my heart out. I thought, that's it. Life is just dreadful. And I thought, okay. So I cried my eyes out for a bit and then thought, okay, what am I going to do? Sit here and cry? It's only going to make me miserable and nothing will change. So the next step was, right, okay, what can I keep doing? What can I keep doing? Where can I focus? What can I do? And then when I did, they said I could start to try and walk. I went from the hospital to Life Pharmacy on the way back, and I bought crutches. And the next morning I said, my parents had come out to help support us as a family. And I said, right, I'm starting this morning. So my mother was holding on to me just in case on one side of me. And then my husband was on the other side. My father was walking behind me with the wheelchair. And I started. And the pain was terrible. And I refused to give up. I worked and worked and worked at it. And then when I got to the hospital, I think a couple of weeks later, when I walked in, they called all the surgeons in and said, how is she doing this? And I said, I don't know, but I am. And they said, we never thought it would be possible, you know, with these injuries. And surgeons have continued to say that. I have now had 21 surgeries to rebuild me with titanium. This is where every year I have surgery that last year wasn't possible. So this is the amazing life that we get now with technology moving forwards and everything else, which I would not, it wasn't even heard of even 10 years ago, 12 years ago when all this happened. So I'm in a very lucky space.
Good space. And you know what I'm learning as you speak, Laura, is that resilience isn't necessarily heroic or loud, but it is this quiet decision that you make to take one day at a time, one decision at a time. Yeah, and that's enough.
I think the reality is people get resilience wrong. And even I had spoken, I'm a keynote speaker, and I had remembered speaking, and everyone used to talk about resilience as, think positive. Write in your gratitude journal.
Right.
And you'll bounce back. I thought, what a load of crock. So I thought, you know what? I wasn't quite sure, though, what I was doing to be so resilient. And I thought, how? And then I was introduced to this whole thing on Gallup-Clifton strengths. And this is where they recognise it's all based on positive psychology and looking at the fact that we're all preconditioned to be born with some kind of talent. All of us have different talents. But the reality is that, and they've kind of recognized sort of 34 talent themes. All of us are completely individual, but it is through our natural ability to do things well that we, and our lens at the world because of that we get stuff done. And when I did my Gallup-Clifton Strengths assessment and had it debriefed, and the debrief is the cleverest part of knowing that you're working with someone who knows what they're talking about. But when I had mine done, I was completely gobsmacked because I'm a leadership consultant and I've trained on so many tools, Myers-Briggs, DISC, Insights, you name it, yes, I've done it. And they've all been helpful.
Sure.
But nothing has been as accurate as this. And when I had my strengths profile done, I could see immediately these things I'd been doing unconsciously. And I thought, well, now, if I could achieve that without really knowing, now I know what these things are. How can I utilize this?
Right.
And what could I do with that? And I have achieved things that people say is impossible.
Clearly, evidently.
I have to share with you the one thing, and a lot of it is not impossible, it's mindset. It is understanding knowing what you can bring to the table and saying, focus on that because this is where I'm going to excel. Working on weaknesses have to happen, but that only mitigates failure. It doesn't propel you to success. Your successes are where we're naturally strong. Our strengths are our powerhouse. So for me, for example, how this showed up in some ways is last year, I didn't have surgery for the first time in 10 years and I was feeling quite cocky about it. So I said to my surgeons, I'm going to enter the 10K in Dubai. And they said to me, it's mechanically unlikely because I have a complete ankle replacement, I have fusion, so you name it, my legs are full of metal, the airport hates me. But I said, no, I know I can do the distance because I do it, I walk it. And they said, and I said, I just don't want to come last. And I used to be able to run it really fast. I was used to be fast. And so I said, I'm going to try. So they said, we'd normally not recommend it, but hell, you're you.
You have already defied a whole lot by now.
You've defined so many things. What the hell? Just let us know.
Yeah.
So I phoned them afterwards. I said, guess what? I did it in 63 minutes and came in the top third of all Dubai runners. They said to me, you are extraordinary. But actually, I'm not.
So tell me, Laura, what has this journey thus far revealed to you about yourself that you didn't know? Because a lot of attributes that you're talking about were almost in your subconscious.
100%. So I think that's exactly it. You know, we are so used to doing, and we're so used to who we are and what we do. We're not really that self-aware. And we kind of accept the things that we do well, and we assume everyone can do what we do. And then we all get stuck and upset in what's not working and where the gaps are and what's wrong with us. And we fail to look at all the things that we've done in our day that we tick off. Those are successes, but we ignore them because we just think, oh yeah, whatever. And what this accident truly taught me is that we actually are so much stronger. We have so much more to give and to live and to enjoy than we ever give ourselves credit for. I've never met anybody at all who really knows their strengths well.
And do you think, Laura, that this is, because we talk about resilience and we talk about courage and we talk about strength, but do you think that we need to go through our own learning, a challenge, perhaps, to tap into those? Because otherwise it's mouthing these attributes, but when do we put them to test?
Most of us have our own challenges to deal with. But what I've realized is that we can all get over a challenge, but to continually rise and get through challenge after challenge after challenge, we all have got to have a strategy that works for us. I found an answer. It is little habits that you have to practice, and it is building that and repeating that and repeating it. And to do that, you've got to know what it is that fuels you and how you can use your personal fuel to get you through time after time after time. But the point is, I have learned, is that every time I've had to go through surgery, it puts you back in this horrible, horrible place again where you hit rock bottom. Each time we all do.
Yes.
Because the first thing we do is we hit the bottom. And then we have a choice. Do I sit here in this place, or how do I rise? And we all want to rise. There's very few people. There are some who are very happy to be victims, but the majority of us want to try.
And it is said, right, that pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice.
It takes as much energy to be unhappy as it does to be happy. So my thing is, why then choose to be miserable? Come back and say to yourself, what is it that excites me? What is it that makes me feel alive every day? That is what I want. So what do I need to do to get that?
Right.
And whatever it is, I help people figure out what that looks like, where their strengths are, and how to propel themselves up. Because after 21 surgeries, I've had to use that vision. And to me, it's like an invisible rope. That when I'm feeling at my worst, and I think life is just miserable, I think, look, Laura, you have a process. Follow the process. You know what you've got to do. Just do it. Even though you're not feeling the love, just do it until suddenly, I'm beginning to feel where I should be. And then you're back on track.
Sure. And Laura, because you do what you do, and you work with such an array of people that walk in with different kinds of energies and different kinds of perspectives. What becomes the most hardest part of your job?
So, for example, what challenges me is, one, I think maybe this is what I was sent to learn in this life. And if ever we have any possibility of being brought back into a life again, I think I'll be sent many, many times to learn patience. It is a virtue that seems to escape me. So I don't have a lot of patience.
Even with 2 children and 21 surgeries.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Because I think my strengths are very focused, achieving, do it, activate, make it happen. And so I struggle with patience for myself. And when I feel that people are not looking at what they've got and are not trying, I struggle with that. My strengths are very fast. My downtime is to do sport, something fast. But that's what re-energizes me. If you're somebody that loves to be around people and you keep yourself away working from home in your own little space, you're going to curl up and die inside because you haven't got the energy you need from others.
So I am learning what you are saying is that first recognize your strengths.
Know your strengths because they fuel your energy. Then you need to say, what do my strengths require from me to thrive?
What are your 3 non-negotiables that you practice every single day?
So my first thing is, where am I focusing my energy today? That without, first and foremost, how am I going to do it? I will share with you that for me, I live in pain. I can't remember a time I didn't have pain.
And is this an everyday pain you live with? Some days more?
Oh God, every day. And at night, it's terrible. During the day, I can, this is why I train on mindset and help people recognize how to rethink how we think. But during the day, it's not too bad. And I'm on the go all the time. But at night I get cramp and pain and lots of things, which means I don't get a lot of sleep. And that is exhausting.
So do you set this for yourself for the day?
Yes, every morning I'll say to me, what needs to happen today? Where will I focus my energy? What will I allow it? How will I allow it to impact me today?
Sure.
That's the first one. Secondly, work as best you can in your circle of influence, because that's where you have control and you can take control, as opposed to feeling more stressed and trying to be everywhere for everyone.
Right.
And the third thing for me, without doubt, is exercise. Move your body.
Oh, I love that.
Fit. Every day I work out. There's very rare a day that I don't. I stay fit. It keeps me physically strong, but it also keeps you mentally strong.
Laura, tell me, if there is only one thing that you could tell every single person in the world, what would that one thing be?
Choose happiness now. I'm honestly, people say to me, oh, when I lose weight, I will do X. When I get promoted, I'm going to do that.
When I buy that car.
I will write a book when I'm retired.
Yes.
Don't wait. Happiness is not something, or doing things later. None of us know how long we're here for.
Sure.
So don't put your life on hold. Well, all the things that you really want to do it, do it now. Enjoy it. Make your life worth it. And that to me is my mantra. I say to everyone, choose to thrive. Choose to flourish every goddamn day.
How incredibly beautiful is this? Laura, I can vouch for the fact that just sitting next to you here, your infectious energy and this happiness that you spread, I can feel it in my bone. Thank you so much for coming, and I loved it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.